So you sent over that podcast episode all about the future of news. And I was thinking it'd be cool to really dive into some of those ideas with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because we've both been kind of geeking out about AI lately.
Yeah.
And it seems like AI is already reshaping the news, even if most people aren't even aware of it. Did you know that some of the big names out there, the Associated Press and Reuters,
Right.
they're already using AI in their newsrooms?
It's true. Yeah, they're using AI to kind of take care of some of the more routine tasks.
Yeah.
Like those financial reports that are just like a whole bunch of numbers and data.
Yeah.
AI can whip those up super fast.
Wow.
And when there's breaking news happening, AI can sift through all that incoming information instantly in real time.
Wow.
It can even create those short video clips to keep everyone up to date.
That's wild. It's like having, this tireless assistant who can just process information at lightning speed. But it makes you wonder, where does that leave the human journalists? Can AI really replace the creativity and, the emotional intelligence that human journalists bring to the table?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are wrestling with that right now. I mean, we're seeing AI tools like GPT-3 that can actually, write full articles and even come up with catchy headlines.
Really?
But the big question is, can they really grasp what makes human storytelling so powerful?
Right.
It's not just about presenting the facts.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with the audience on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Understanding the nuances and adding that human touch.
That's so true. It's more than just spitting out information.
Exactly.
There's an art to it.
Yeah.
And it gets even more complicated, I think, when you start thinking about how AI is shaping what news we even see in the first place.
Right.
You know how Netflix suggests shows you might like, or how those, news apps curate content specifically for you?
Yeah.
AI is behind a lot of that personalization, trying to figure out what's going to keep us glued to our screens, coming back for more.
Yeah, it's an interesting development.
Yeah.
Because while personalized recommendations can be pretty helpful,
Yeah.
sometimes you discover something new.
Yeah.
I think it's important to think about the potential downsides too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're only ever seeing news that, lines up with our existing views, are we missing out on different perspectives?
Right.
Could this actually lead to us getting stuck in these echo chambers where our own beliefs are just constantly being reinforced?
Right. Without ever being challenged.
Exactly.
It's definitely something to be aware of as AI becomes even more ingrained in how we consume news. Speaking of potential downsides, the podcast you shared also brought up AI and misinformation. It's fascinating how AI tools like Logically and Factmata are being used to fight fake news and, help us spot false information online.
Right. Yeah, those tools are super valuable because they can, analyze massive amounts of data,
Yeah.
looking for those inconsistencies and red flags that might point to something being false.
That's incredible.
But there's a flip side to that coin. AI can also be used to create really, really convincing deepfakes
Oh, wow.
and spread misinformation even more effectively.
Yeah.
So it really raises all these questions about how we can effectively combat the misuse of AI for spreading false information.
It's like a double-edged sword in a way, right?
Yeah.
It makes you think about how important media literacy and critical thinking skills are going to become in the future.
Definitely.
We can't just take everything we see or read online at face value.
Right.
Especially as this AI-generated content becomes more and more sophisticated.
Yeah, it's getting harder to tell what's real and what's not.
Exactly. But let's not get too, bogged down in the potential negatives here.
Yeah.
The podcast also highlighted some pretty exciting benefits of AI in media that we should explore.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are some of those?
Well, I think one of the most promising aspects is how AI can help streamline some of those tasks that journalists often find really time-consuming.
Okay.
Those things that can really bog them down.
Right.
And this could free up more time for them to focus on the deeper, more impactful work.
Right. What kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, think about things like video editing, transcribing interviews, analyzing data. AI could be a game changer for all of that.
Yeah.
And this could be especially helpful for smaller newsrooms
Yeah.
that might not have the same resources as the bigger organizations.
Right. I mean, imagine being able to harness the power of AI to create really high quality content without, getting bogged down in all those tedious tasks.
Exactly. It has the potential to really level the playing field and give more opportunities to diverse voices and perspectives in media.
I like that.
And then, on top of that, AI could help make news more accessible on a global scale.
Oh, wow.
Imagine having real-time translation tools that could break down language barriers,
That's incredible.
allowing people from all over the world to access and understand news from different cultures.
That would be amazing. It's so exciting to think about how AI could help make information more accessible and inclusive for everyone.
Definitely.
But with all this talk about the potential of AI, we also have to, talk about the potential downsides too.
Sure.
And one of the biggest concerns, I think, for a lot of people is the impact on jobs in the media industry.
Yeah, that's a very valid concern. I mean, if AI can potentially write, edit, even present the news,
Right.
what happens to all the people who currently work in those roles?
Right.
Journalists, editors, graphic designers, videographers.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on.
It's something we definitely need to think about seriously. But beyond just jobs,
Right.
there's the bigger question of accountability. I mean, if an AI system makes a mistake, publishes false information, or shows some kind of bias, who's responsible?
That's a really tough one.
Is it the AI itself?
Right.
The developers who created it, or the news organization that's using it?
It's uncharted territory in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And as AI becomes, more deeply integrated into our lives, these ethical considerations are going to become even more important.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the data that these AI systems are trained on.
Right.
They rely on massive amounts of data, often collected from our online behavior, and we need to think about how we can make sure that data is being used ethically and responsibly.
You're absolutely right. It's a huge responsibility,
Yeah.
and one that we need to take very seriously.
Yeah, it really is a lot to unpack, isn't it?
It is.
We're talking about, a fundamental shift in how news is created and consumed.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about something we haven't really touched on yet,
Okay.
which is, the human element of news.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I mean, while AI can be amazing at churning out facts and figures,
Yeah.
there's a certain, emotional depth that comes with human storytelling.
Right.
Like, think about a powerful piece of investigative journalism
Yeah.
or a story that shines a light on some kind of social injustice.
Right. Exactly. Those stories, they often rely on building trust with sources, understanding complex emotions,
Yeah.
and finding ways to convey those nuances to an audience.
Right.
Can AI really replicate that kind of human connection?
That's a great question. And that's where this idea of AI as a collaborator, not a replacement, becomes really, really interesting.
Okay, I like that.
So imagine, an investigative journalist working on a story about, let's say, environmental pollution.
Yeah. Okay.
AI could be an incredible asset,
Yeah.
helping them sift through mountains of data,
Right.
corporate records, scientific reports to uncover the truth.
That's a really cool example. So instead of replacing the journalist,
Right.
AI becomes this powerful tool, to help with the research,
Exactly.
allowing them to really focus on the human side of the story, the personal impact, the voices of those who are affected.
Exactly. AI can handle that heavy lifting when it comes to, data analysis, freeing up journalists to connect with people,
Yeah.
gather those firsthand accounts,
Right.
and really dig into the heart of the issue.
It's about combining the strengths of both,
Yeah.
of humans and AI.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, the podcast you shared raised some important questions about transparency and accountability. When it comes to this AI-driven journalism, how can we trust information that's been, shaped by algorithms that we might not fully understand?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the core of, how do we build trust in a world where AI is playing a larger role?
Yeah.
We need to be able to understand how these algorithms work,
Right.
what data they're being trained on,
Yeah.
and whether there are any inherent biases built into the system.
You're so right. Just because something is, presented as AI generated doesn't automatically mean it's objective or unbiased.
Exactly.
We need to approach it with a critical eye, just like we would with any other source of information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the importance of media literacy.
Yeah.
You know, we all need to develop the skills to evaluate information critically,
Right.
to question assumptions, to look for evidence, and to be aware of our own biases.
It's so true. And you know, you mentioning that, it makes me think about how important these skills are going to be for, you know, young people growing up in a world where AI is already so prevalent.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about teaching them how to use the technology,
Right.
but how to think critically about the information it generates.
Yeah.
You know, how to separate fact from fiction, how to identify bias, how to be, you know, responsible consumers of news in a digital age.
Right. It's like we're all becoming detectives in a way.
Yeah.
Having to piece together information from different sources and evaluate its credibility.
Right.
And then with AI in the mix, it just adds another layer of complexity to it all.
It does, but it's also an opportunity. I mean, AI can help us become more informed and engaged citizens if we use it wisely.
Okay.
You know, it can give us access to information we might not have otherwise had.
Right.
Help us see patterns and connections that might have been hidden, and even challenge our own assumptions.
I love that perspective. It's not about fearing AI,
Right.
but it's about understanding its potential, its limitations,
Yeah.
and figuring out how we can use it to create a more informed and equitable world.
Exactly. And that requires all of us to be, you know, active participants in this conversation.
Yeah.
To ask questions, to demand transparency.
Right.
And to hold those in power accountable for how AI is being used.
It sounds like the future of news is going to be this collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Not just between journalists and AI, but between all of us as consumers of information.
You're absolutely right. The power ultimately lies with us, you know,
Yeah.
the readers, the viewers, the citizens. We get to decide what kind of news ecosystem we want to create.
So let's talk about what that future might look like. I mean, the podcast we started with touched on some pretty mind-blowing possibilities.
It did. And one that really stuck with me was this idea of AI combined with virtual reality and augmented reality.
Wow, okay.
I mean, just imagine the possibilities.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
VR and AR are already changing the way we experience, you know, entertainment and information.
Yeah.
But when you add AI to the mix, it's like it just takes things to a whole new level.
Exactly. Imagine, you know, being able to step into a virtual newsroom
Wow.
powered by AI
Okay.
and experience events as if you were right there in the middle of it all.
That's incredible.
You could interact with data visualizations,
Oh, wow.
explore different perspectives on a story, and even personalize your news experience in ways we can only, you know, dream about right now.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It does.
But it could
Yeah.
be a reality sooner than we think, right?
It could.
Yeah.
And while it's super exciting to think about all the possibilities, we also need to consider the potential downsides.
Right.
You know, what are the ethical implications of creating such immersive and personalized news experiences?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that these technologies are used responsibly
Right.
and don't contribute to, you know, further polarization or misinformation?
Those are excellent questions, and they really highlight, you know, the need for these ongoing conversations about the role of AI in our lives. I mean, as we dive deeper into this new frontier, we need to keep asking those tough questions and working together to shape a future where AI really does serve humanity in positive and ethical ways.
I couldn't agree more. It's a fascinating landscape. It's complex and it's constantly evolving. But by staying informed, engaging in critical thinking, and demanding transparency,
Right.
we can all play a part in shaping the future of news.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is a fascinating time to be following, like, the world of news and media. You know, it's funny, while we've been talking about these, like, pretty futuristic scenarios with AI and VR and AR,
Right.
it's important to remember that AI is already changing how stories are told, like, right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one area where AI is having a huge impact is in data visualization.
Yeah.
You know, think about all those complex data sets that journalists work with. Financial records, scientific studies, public opinion polls. AI can help make sense of all that information and present it in a way that's really engaging and informative for audiences.
That's a great point. So instead of just, like, reading a dry report,
Right.
You could be interacting with like an interactive map
Right.
that shows you like how pollution levels are different across neighborhoods.
Exactly.
Or exploring a 3D model that helps you visualize the impact of climate change.
Yeah.
Like AI can make data come alive.
It can. It
Wow.
can really bring those stories to life in a way that just, words and numbers on a page can't always do.
It's true. It's true. And that's just one example, right? I mean, AI can also help journalists personalize news experiences in a way that's, more meaningful for each reader. Like imagine a world where your newsfeed isn't just this generic stream of headlines, but it's like a curated collection of stories that are tailored to your specific interests and, how you like to learn.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's like having, a personal news curator who knows what you care about
Right.
and can help you navigate that overwhelming amount of information out there.
That would be incredible.
Mm.
But it does raise some questions, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, how do we ensure that those personalized experiences are still, exposing us to diverse viewpoints and challenging our own assumptions?
Right. You've hit on a really crucial point. I mean, the potential for AI to create filter bubbles and echo chambers.
Yeah.
That's something we have to be really mindful of. I think the key is to design these systems with transparency and user control in mind.
Oh, okay.
People should know how their newsfeed is being personalized.
Right.
And they should have the ability to adjust their preferences and explore different perspectives.
It's about empowering people to be like active participants in their news consumption, not just, passive recipients.
Exactly.
And it all comes back to media literacy, doesn't it? That ability to think critically about information, regardless of whether it comes from, a human journalist or an AI-powered system.
Absolutely. In a world where information is constantly evolving and AI is playing a bigger and bigger role, those critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
they're more essential than ever. It's not just about being able to, spot fake news.
Right.
It's about understanding how algorithms work, how information is filtered and presented,
Right.
and how our own biases can influence what we see and believe.
I think that's a perfect takeaway for anyone listening to this deep dive.
Yeah.
The future of news it's exciting, it's full of potential,
Mhm.
but it's also going to require all of us to be more engaged, more discerning,
Yeah.
more critical of the information that we consume.
Absolutely. The power really does lie with us, the readers, the viewers, the listeners.
Right.
By embracing media literacy and demanding transparency from those who create and distribute the news.
Right.
We can all play a part in shaping a future where AI enhances human intelligence and contributes to a more informed and equitable world.
That's a great way to put it. That's some real food for thought for all of us as we keep navigating this ever evolving media landscape. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of news.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's been a really enlightening conversation, and we hope you've learned something new along the way.